I am Ali Saba, and today I will be discussing medieval churches, Schubertide-style parties, and jazz concerts. Starting off with a piece from a medieval church, I will play it now, and you can always go back and watch the video if you would like to. I will submit the links. Here we go. Medieval churches was started in 476 to 1500 CE in Europe. The church regulated and defined an individual's life, literally, from birth to death, and was thought to continue its hold over the person's soul in the afterlife. The church was the manifestation of God's will and presence on earth, and its indicates were not to be questioned, even when it was apparent that many of the clergy were working far more steadily toward their own interest than those of their God. The piece I showed you was a Gregorian chant, which is a church music sung as a single voice line in free rhythm and a restricted scale, plain song, in a style developed by medieval Latin liturgy. Next is a piece from the Schubertide-style parties. I will play it, and once again, I will give you the links to these videos. Here we go. Schubertide-style party started in 1821 time period in Vienna. Schubertide parties is a social gathering whose primary purpose is the performance of the music of Schubert, and where the music of no other composer will ever be played. They were named for the composer Franz Schubert. They were informal gatherings given over to socializing, eating, drinking, dancing, and lots of music. Chamber music is performed by a small number of people for a small audience, which would be in a chamber and not a concert hall. This is the type of style that they believe could be shown at these parties. Last is a piece from a jazz concert. Again, I will give you the link on my transcript. Here we go. Jazz concerts and this style of music was started in the late 19th century. Jazz is a music genre that originated in the African American communities of New Orleans, United States, and developed from roots in blues and ragtime. Jazz is seen by many as Americans' classical music. Medieval churches were held in cathedrals majority of the time. Here is a photo, or a couple, of what historians think that they may have looked like. On the left is one of the outside, on the right is one of the inside. When you travel abroad, you can see many cathedrals and what they look like now. Schubertide-style parties took place usually in gatherings called salons of the house and the well-to-do. This is a visual of what they imagine to be going on at the parties. People are well dressed and always having a good time, singing and dancing and eating. Jazz concerts were held in concert halls. The first jazz concert hall was in New York at Carnegie Hall in 1938 by Benny Goodman, who was actually playing the clarinet on the video or the clip that I just had showed. Here is an image of Carnegie Hall. The interaction with music at medieval churches was limited, and there was many rules, including what was acceptable in chanting prayers. The music itself was monophonic, meaning it was one melody without harmony, resulting in just one musical part. Monks would sing the prayers together in unison, so it sounded like this. The interaction with the music at Schubertide-style parties was always fun. The guests were always Schubert's close friends, and they always had fun dancing and conversing and listening to his music. The interaction with music at jazz concerts was always people dancing, having a good time, playing around, hugging, and just enjoying themselves. People would sing along when they could, when there was lyrics, and when not, they were dancing. People at the churches usually knew that the songs were Gregorian chants, as I previously described. They also was a plain chant, which is a body of chants used to liturgies of the Western Church. Plain song and Gregorian chant is a monophonic, like I was talking about earlier, consisting of a single unaccompanied melody line. Its rhythm is generally freer than the metered rhythm of later Western music. Guests at the parties knew that Schubert and Beethoven were living in the same town. They were very different musicians, and the guests and friends wanted to support Schubert's dream. They both had loyal supporters, but the Schubert-style parties were just for him. The guests never knew what was going to be played, but they always knew that they were going to be having fun and they would eat well. People who went to jazz concerts knew a lot about blues and ragtime music. They wanted to have fun and appreciate their cultures together. So they created jazz music and concerts for people to express their creativity and be together. The lives of the medieval churches revolved around the church, of course. People, especially women, were known to attend church 3 to 5 times daily for prayer, and at least once a week for services, confession, and acts of refreshing. The typical guests of a Schubertide party were Schubert's friends, and they were usually white, privileged folks who had butlers and kind of did well off. The typical guests of jazz concerts were primarily African Americans who wanted to enjoy the music of their friends in their city and the fellow musicians who wanted to. The event that I would like to attend the most would probably be jazz concerts. In February, I went to Mardi Gras, and I really enjoyed sitting around at restaurants and just listening to live jazz. It was so relaxing, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere and the whole entire city itself. So I think that I would love to go to a jazz concert. I would love to go to New York as well, and also go to Carnegie Hall and go to a jazz concert there, where the first one ever was. I think that would be awesome. I just wanted to say thank you for listening to my presentation, and if you have any questions, please let me know.